Welcome, everybody, to the DataDistillr and OCI webinar, where we're going to join data where it resides across every format. I mean, what a great webinar to talk about how we can access data where it is without an ETL, with no schema, in this world that's moving to a dataverse. So lots going on today. So we put together this webinar with our good friends at Oracle to show a couple of joint capabilities. So today, we are being shared by two great speakers. We've got Charles Givry, who is the CEO and founder of DataDistillr, and Sanjay Basu, head of technology strategy at Oracle. And we're going to run through a couple of scenarios on how DataDistillr works with Oracle OCI and how you can download DataDistillr's app from the OCI or Oracle Marketplace, the cloud marketplace. So this is an exciting time. And there's so much going on with multi-cloud, cloud, Dataverse, you pick it. And we're just excited that we can have this webinar to show all the data enthusiasts how to join data. So with that, there's a few reasons why we wanted to have Oracle on today's conversation. And Sanjay and I we've spoke about this, Charles and I have spoke about this, but I think the number one thing that everyone's going to learn today is that we're going to make it easy to join and query all your data where it is. I think that's the number one. Number two, we work with big teams, and it's going to be really important that teams collaborate with each other. It's also important that teams can integrate their data systems, but also for all those wonderful Oracle customers, you can use your cloud compute credits to get started quickly. So I think this is a win for everybody. So with that, I thought it'd be good, Sanjay, and welcome to the webinar. If maybe you want to talk a little bit about the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, the OCI, what's exciting you, what's exciting the space about what you guys are working on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for having me in this webinar. Hi, Darren. Hi, Charles. So OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. We are industry's first Gen 2 cloud, or I will say the only Gen 2 cloud where we have built out our infrastructure on bare metal with security first mentality. You have to understand that in Oracle, we have taken the approach from enterprise point of view initially, and then we moved into the developer space. So in OCI, we are offering a very deep and broad platform of services that can enable our existing and new customers to actually build and run a wide range of applications in a hyperscale manner, which is secure, highly available, resilient, fault tolerant, and high performance. We are the only cloud which is actually offering SLA for performance, availability, and the manageability of the platform. So as I have mentioned that we have moved into a security first architecture from day one, and actually 75% of our enterprises attest to that. And then we have also introduced an increased agility and rapidly scaling platform. So 88% of the enterprises that are moving from on-prem and other providers, they are finding that OCI is delivering a faster time to value, and it is very easy to scale if they are global, because we have more than 36 regions worldwide, and we are adding another 5. And then, so I will just go over very quickly what we are finding from a price performance point of view versus our competitors. We are at least 3 times better performant when it comes to RISE performance. We have 1/4 cost of outbound bandwidth. And when you are running your HPC workloads on Oracle, we are 44%, lower in RISE.
I love the move for, I love the global reach. I love how you are being thoughtful. And to everyone that's watching and seeing this webinar, it's not the Oracle that your parents knew.
Yes.
It is a different Oracle. I mean, it's just the cloud team. It just feels different. I mean, we're on calls, we're on the resources. I mean, take their phone call. They're thoughtful. They really want to see everybody win. And these numbers speak for themselves, but also the type of team and personality that you are connected with on that Oracle team. It has just been an incredible experience for us. And we know other customers that feel the same way. So Sanjay, thank you for being on here. And now Charles, bringing you into this conversation, you're the second part of this, right? So you've DataDistillr. So you've got this great platform, the Oracle Cloud, right? So now we still have data in lots of places. Tell us a little bit about, DataDistillr.
Sure. Thank you, Darren. And thank you, Sanjay, for having me today. First off, I think I wanted to hit on a theme that Sanjay mentioned, which is the time to value and getting to value as quickly as possible, and the importance of that as a KPI. So I worked as a data scientist for 15 years, and this was something that I really noticed was an issue in the data world. And so what DataDistillr does is we enable users to query virtually any data source where it is without having to move it around using standard SQL. And we've been working with Sanjay and the team at OCI to get DataDistillr deployed on OCI. But what that means is that if a customer chooses to use our tool, they can query data that's hosted in OCI. They can join their files with an Oracle database or another database. They can work with things like Excel files, and they can do all these things just in the context of our tool. So it makes, if what OCI accelerates your time to value, DataDistillr can do that even more so. And I think it's a really good symbiosis between OCI and our product.
The teams that are working in the Dataverse, for the teams that want to be in that place of AI readiness, this setup is perfect. It's an app you can download on the marketplace. You can use your compute credits. You can delight your executive teams on running out reports or getting to AI. There's a lot here. So this is an easy to deploy solution as well. So I thought maybe there's some facts I think we should maybe even talk through right before we go into a demo. Charles, do you want to talk through maybe some facts and some features?
Sure. Well, first off, I'll talk about the deployment, and that is that our team is, we've worked with the OCI team to make it so that you can deploy DataDistillr with one click from the Oracle Cloud Marketplace. So this makes it very easy to get started. Again, focused on that time to value. You don't have to spend a lot of time setting things up. It works very well. Our tool doesn't require you to onboard data into DataDistillr. Our tool connects to data where it is. So again, with that focus on decreasing that time to value, you don't have to onboard data, you don't have to ETL data, you just connect our tool and start querying, and you're off to the races. And our tool, because it can connect to such a wide variety of data sources, it really makes it democratizes that. At the risk of using kind of some cliches, it really makes it possible it democratizes the data and makes it possible for business analysts to work with data that would otherwise be out of their reach from a technical perspective.
I like what you said there. So what I'm hearing, there's no complex onboarding. I think that's very important. There's also some cool things on how we can share via API. But yes, SQL is important in how we're doing our joins. And I think because of that, there is some pretty cool automatic schema detection. But the big thing here is go to the Oracle Marketplace. First of all, there's incredible apps on the Oracle Marketplace. I mean, we're just one of many of great apps, big brands, small brands, you think of it, it's on the marketplace. So good job to Oracle creating such a great marketplace. And if you go to the marketplace, we'll include the link in the webinar. You can click download the app. So Charles, I think it would be cool if we do a quick demo right now. So to everybody,
Sure.
if you're on the App Store, you would download the app. But what we're going to do is we're going to start this kind of after it's downloaded. So let's say we've hit the download, and Charles, do you want to share your screen and just show everybody kind of maybe a quick demo of what this thing looks like?
Yeah, I will share my screen here. So our tool was, so this is what you see when you,
I got to stop sharing mine. Let me stop sharing mine. Now Charles is sharing his.
Okay, so this is what you see when you log into our tool. And our tool was meant not only to facilitate working with your data, but also to facilitate collaborating amongst teams. So we organize our tool around this notion of a project, and the project contains kind of all the bits and pieces that go into creating value from data. So, so in this case, I have a notional use case here, which I'll talk through in a second, but that wasn't what I wanted to do. The first step would be you've created a project, and then you associate data with the project. So in this case, we have some files, and so it's pretty easy to you can just drag and drop files into this. You can connect various databases to our tool. So in this case, we have a MySQL database connected, just so you can see how this works. But it's really easy to set up other databases. We can connect to, obviously, an Oracle database, but kind of all the other common relational databases and non-relational data stores, such as Elasticsearch or Splunk or things like that. And what that means is that if you have data in these other platforms, it's quite easy to do cross-silo queries and work with all of these data sources from one place. You can connect to a cloud storage. So again, if you have files stored in OCI, it's pretty easy. It's just to fill out a form and you can query them directly with our tool. Or finally, APIs. So if you have data that exists in an API, you can query that, again, directly with our tool. We're constantly adding more and more APIs to this, and there's a custom form as well. So if you have a corporate holding that's accessible via API, you can do that directly with our tool. So once you've linked data to a project, you can also then grant access to other users. So the premise being that a team is probably working on a data project, so you can grant access to at various levels. And then once you've done that, then you can start actually working with the data. So this is what our query page looks like. It's meant to feel very comfortable and familiar, and not scary. So this is kind of a use case that we are showing here, is just how to join disparate data sources and just how that works. Now, I should mention, Darren said something early on about this, that our tool does automatic schema discovery. So that means that when you connect your data to our tool, you don't have to kind of tell it what columns are present and what data type. It figures that out. So so again, saving you time and decreasing the time to value. So in this instance, and so you see here, we have this relational database. You can see these are all the tables that are connected to this. We can open up one of these tables and you can see what's here. I guess nothing in that one. But you can see everything that's actually this. I should open this one out. You can see tables that are here and what columns and rows are present here. So we get all that stuff right there. And the same is true if we're looking at a file system. So like in this case, I just have a simple Excel file here. I can expand that and it will show me what columns are present and the data types as well. So it's a big time saver there. Now, this file here is meant to show kind of like an investor or someone like that. And the use case we were showing is someone who might be trying to source deals. They have like a relational database or a table or something where they're storing their information, and then they're enriching it by joining it with purchase data. So in this case, you can see this is the querying the relational database. You can see it's pretty straightforward. Now, our tool also does some kind of neat things. It does statistical analysis on the columns as it's being scanned. So you can see here, we click on this column, it tells you how many nulls are there, how many zeros are present, what the most frequent value is, the quartiles, averages, and all this kind of stuff. Now, we can join this data with other. Actually, we can. This example here is pulling out data from. This is just kind of cleaning this data up a little bit. Now we can join this data with third-party data. And so this is to kind of walk you through how this process works. Is this is an API which is called People Data Labs, which is commonly used to enrich information about people. So it gathers all sorts of stuff like that. And what you're seeing here is this is that information. Once we have this, we can then join it with the data in the relational database with a simple SQL query. You can see now we have the enriched data, and we can also actually write this data back to the relational database, or we can save this off as a file. So it becomes very easy to work with your data, to manipulate it, to analyze it, and so forth. Our tool has visualization, so you can visualize data as well. We can create dashboards. The last thing I'll highlight here is that once you get your data to a point where you're happy with it, like in the case of, say, machine learning, you can create an API endpoint. And then once you've done that, you can publish, we have a Python SDK and an R script that will just pipe this data directly into a data frame. So if you wanted to do machine learning or more advanced analytics, you can do that. It's very easy to get your data into those environments. And just to kind of close on one thing, yes, we have dark mode. So
hey, Charles, no, I really appreciate that you walking us through that. We'll have you stop sharing your screen. And as we bring us all together, I think there's lots of things that we saw in that demo. One, it's easy to connect, which I like. We believe that the data is everywhere, but it's how do you build your AI models if you can't access that data? So just getting everything to join into a table is great. Being able to collaborate is great. Being able to use the compute credits is just being a good vendor. I mean, I think that is fantastic what Oracle is doing. It's on the Oracle marketplace. There is a lot of great apps. We're happy to be one of the many. Charles and Sanjay, thank you so much. We had a couple of questions come in while you were doing that demo. And I think the first question, if it's okay, is going to go to Sanjay. Someone asked, Dataverse, that's a new term we're hearing. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is Dataverse? So that's an interesting one.
Yes, it is an interesting one. And I will also say this is why actually we are partnering with you, because to me, Dataverse is the accessibility and usability of data across multiple sources. To me, Dataverse is that how we are running the application processes on OCI, and we are reaching out to on-prem, to other cloud, and we are actually accessing and utilizing data without the need of moving chunk of data from source to destination. So to me, this is the Dataverse. And I also want to highlight the integration that your team and our team are building around the AI services, OCI AI services. So I want to mention that DataDistillr to me is AI enabled on OCI.
And I appreciate you saying, because I mean, that was something that also came up because we talked about AI readiness and getting everything to a table. So Charles, question to you is, where is that line between us doing AI models versus prepping the data? Because there's a lot there. So can you talk through about how this works to get to AI readiness?
Sure. So one of the things that I think is often misunderstood about AI and machine learning in general is just most of the time that people spend doing machine learning and AI work is actually doing the data analysis and the data engineering, meaning you get raw data, but you have to extract features from it. There's a lot of transformations that you have to do in order to build those models. The building of the models is actually data scientists probably kill me for saying that, but that's actually I don't want to say the least important, but it's not in terms of time spent. That's not where most of the time is being spent. And this is very much true for somebody who's doing applied work, not true for somebody who's like a researcher or something like that. So just kind of to establish that. But so what our tool can do is it can dramatically reduce the amount of time and effort someone's spending in that whole data prep, data gathering, data exploration phase, and make it so that they can focus most of their time on the actual model building and tuning and revising and all of that. And then also what we can do, and this is kind of a feature that's in our roadmap that is going to be deployed probably kind of soon, but once models have been built, they can actually be put back into our tool, and you can run queries which include those models in the query. And so you can include the model's predictions as future data sources. So that are a future feature or future like as a column essentially in your data.
I think that's great. And then the next question goes to Sanjay about just compute credits. So for Oracle customers that are moving to the cloud, or Oracle customers that want to learn more about how to get to the cloud, can you just talk through maybe where they go? Because I know there's so many, there's hundreds of, over 500,000, there's hundreds of Oracle customers as they're all moving to the cloud. Is there anything that a website they can go to, or who should they contact as they keep wanting to learn more about how to get to the cloud, the Oracle cloud, as well as others that want to get to the Oracle cloud?
Yes, we are actually running some free trials and POCs. So you can go and actually you can go to www.oracle.com/cloud. You can access the cloud console from cloud.oracle.com, and you can get started on OCI, and you can go through the contact us, link. So that
and to everyone, the experience that we've had, the experience that other customers that we have had, the way they are treating and the way they're putting this together is so thoughtful. I mean, when I looked at those numbers that Sanjay shared, it's easy to see. And then question for you, Charles, that came up. You talked about APIs. So question came up, do you handle Salesforce? Do you handle ServiceNow? Those questions came up. What kind of company APIs do you handle? Can you just walk us through those capabilities that we offer?
Sure. No, our tool can query, can connect to a lot of the the SaaS platforms that are commonly in use. So Salesforce, we have a connector for that. ServiceNow, we definitely have that. Our tool supports OAuth. So if the API uses OAuth, we can do that. Now, our tool has these integrations, but we also have the custom form. So you don't need to use our integration. You can just set up your own, and it supports all of those functionalities.
Oh, that's great.
So I've really yet to see an API that we could not get it to work. So
that's great.
It's pretty,
and to everyone, I mean, you can connect it, but it sounds like just make sure you know your endpoints and how you need to get it done. That's great.
Yeah, if it's not something you have, I mean, you do have to have your own credentials. You do have to have, having the documentation is obviously very helpful if you're setting it up yourself.
Yeah. Sanjay, as always, thank you for being on the webinar. Thank you for waving the Oracle Cloud flag, the OCI flag. We're so happy to be part of it. Charles, thank you once again. You are the CEO of DataDistillr. Thank you for carving out time to be part of this. This is a webinar that's very important to people that are, like we learned today, messing with data in the Dataverse, or even want to get to that AI spot. So thank you all for being part of this, and we will post links to everything off this webinar. So thank you all.